All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. This week, you got a good one to listen to. Today, we're going to be having a conversation with one of my friends from just down the road. Well, 8 hours down the road, but I'm saying just down the road right now because we're in the same state. So I'm saying we're neighbors. We've got a friend on who I've been connected to for a little while now. She is absolutely incredible. She is inspirational. She is powerful. She is finding her voice and she is using it. And I'm so excited to share it with you today. Jillian, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so excited to be here. And you're right. We're just down the road from each other. Yeah, a little 8 hour jog.
Yeah, just down the road and
Yeah.
a turn to the right.
Yeah.
We're there. Yeah, I got you.
You're on the panhandle and I'm down in the middle of central, west central. So
Yeah, you're in real Florida and I'm hanging out kind of in fake Florida, but I don't want to advertise that too loud. We were talking ahead of time that I kind of like this place because nobody really knows about it. And if I start talking about it too much, everybody's going to want to come hang out and build their own house and traffic's going to get insane. So let's just talk about where you are right now and let everybody come hang out by you for a little while. Is that all right? Are you good with
yeah,
that?
that's
Okay.
fine. Absolutely.
All right. So Jillian, do me a favor real quick and just introduce yourself to the world. Let the people who don't know you know who you are, what you're about, aside from just where you are.
So I am Jillian DuBois and I'm an educator, elementary educator. I've been doing that for about 20 years now, going on I think this is year 21, exactly. And I'm an author and an illustrator. I've been blogging and podcasting. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom, a sister, a daughter, all of those good things. But I'm just me. I'm just me.
I think that introduction kind of sums it up. You are a woman who is involved in all the things right now. I mean, literally all the things. We joked about it. You got a full-time job. You've got many family roles that you are asked to fill and serve and support, and yet you're also finding time to write, to speak, to illustrate, which that's a whole nother level for me because if anybody knows my artistic abilities, I don't have them. But you find the time to do all the things, not just dabble in all the things. You are excelling in all the things. People that might just be getting exposed to you for the first time might be thinking, okay, but you've been building this for the last 20 years of your career. And although part of that is true, I mean, this is something that truly just mushroomed over the last year. Can you take us on that journey? Where did all this come from?
It did. It just totally exploded a little over a year ago when we were home with students remotely teaching online with COVID, and I cannot sit still. I'm a little bit like Ray, right? I cannot sit still. I have to have something to do. So, my son is older. My husband has a full-time job. I'm in the house by myself. I'm teaching these children. We're done. They don't have to show up on, all day in front of me. It's their Zoom lessons. So a lot of what they do has to be, offline. So I had to find something to do. And I got tired of binge watching Netflix. I couldn't do it anymore. I got tired of reading chick lit novels. I was done. Like I have to put something good into my head. And I started out with just writing a story. And I thought, I'm just going to write a story. Maybe I'll write it for my students. Maybe I don't know, I'll do something with it one day. So I sat down on my computer and in 2 hours, I knocked out just a cute little story about a girl that goes to the seashore who picks up seashells that are broken and has special compassion for them. And it kind of mirrored myself a little bit because I love going to the beach, one of my favorite things to do being here in Florida. But it it triggered my memory, and it triggered my memory back to my sister. And my sister passed away about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And she was that person. We would go to the beach together and she'd pick up all the broken shells. She would pick up everything that nobody else wanted. And she was like that in real life too. So it kind of paralleled her life a little bit when I was starting to write this story, and I started to think about her and how can I make this a tribute to her? And it just started snowballing. At that time, I've been really close with my niece, her daughter, who was only 7 when she passed away, and she's 16 now. So, she doesn't have a whole lot of memory of her mom, or not a lot of recollection of her character, I would say, and who she was, while we were growing up. So the story I wrote basically was about my sister and the compassion and kindness and empathy she had for everybody. But especially the broken, especially the people that needed a helping hand, or needed a friend, or needed somebody to care about them, or she was just that person. So, yeah, so that story turned into, well, I've got this iPad. Maybe I've been dabbling with, doing some digital illustrations, and maybe I could do this. Maybe I could draw a few little pictures to go with it. So started doing that, and I kind of just started going like page by page, and it grew and grew, and I went, I think I've got something here. So yeah, sent it off to a few different publishers who very, very kindly said, no, thank you. It's a great story, but that's just not something we're interested in right now. So I put it on the back burner for a very long time. Um, Came back in October. I took a personal day in October because I was just tired and exhausted, as most educators were last year. And I decided, you know what? It was a rainy, I remember it very vividly. It was a rainy day. I was on my back lanai. That's a porch talk for us Florida people. And I remember just saying, all right, I'm going to give it one more shot. And I sent it to another publisher. And in an hour, I got yeah, we really like this story. I love it. Send us more. So that was it. Within 6 weeks, it was published. And that was November of last year. So it's not even been a year since the first book.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to expand on this metaphor a little bit. And, so I know the story. I know the story you just told, and I know the story that you wrote very, very well. I love it. It's so amazing. And the metaphor, I think, paints such a powerful message for so many of us. This idea of having intentionality to search for the broken. So many of us spend so much time searching for the perfect. Even if we just want to be very literal about going to the beach, we often bypass the broken shells looking for the perfect ones so that we can put them in a bucket and bring them home to show other people the perfection that we found. And the intentionality of searching out the broken, searching out the discarded, the passed over, the battered and bruised, to give purpose where purpose wasn't originally sought. And your own journey of being published in a way mirrors that, where you had this polished product that you thought was something, to use your words, I've got something here, that was passed over by a couple of others. And all it took for you was somebody to pick it up and say, huh, this might be something, to change the trajectory of truly the last year of your life, and probably the next 30, 40, 50 years into the future here, because you were picked up and not seen as broken. I think that's a powerful lesson for a lot of us. When you look back on that experience and the experience throughout your life, do you recognize this as a need for so many others, something that they wrestle with, feeling this feeling of being broken and passed over and insignificant? And does that drive your purpose in sharing this message?
1,000%. So, while I actually, when I was growing up, I was very jealous of my sister because she was not one that, she didn't care what anybody thought about her. She was just her own person. She had a voice. She stood strong. She, hung out with the unpopular, the uncool kid, or uncool kids who, always got ridiculed and made fun of and shamed. And I always just like admired that in her because I was the complete opposite. I had to
Yeah.
be the perfectionist. I had to be the one that was always searching for approval and always needing that, gosh, please tell me I'm doing everything perfectly because that's who I need to be. That's who I want to be. I had such high expectations on myself. And of course, that never got met. So, yeah. So, actually, writing that and going through that whole process was very healing
Mm.
in a way, for myself.
So I gotta ask this piece of it. So knowing that you're somebody that sought approval and sought praise for the high expectations that you have for yourself. So you seek to accomplish things. And I think like a lot of us probably want to be noticed and seen and identified for having accomplished a lot. When you created something that was so personal and so intimate to your life and the legacy of your sister, for it to be passed over, um, do you mind talking about how that felt? What impact did that have on you initially when others said, It's nice, but not right now"?
So initially, I remember thinking, "Oh, there it is again,
Mm,
right? I'm not perfect. I'm always chasing perfect. That is kind of the way I've always felt my whole life. But when that happened, there was something inside of me that went, "That's okay. It's
oh,
all right." And I will tell you that a lot of that was because of the connections that I had in social media that I had found during that whole process. So starting back, I had written it in March, started sending it out April, May, and it was May of last year that I started jumping into Twitter chats and I started finding a personal, professional learning network that I could embrace and that
mm,
embraced me and supported and encouraged. And I mean, I can't even tell you like what that meant to my heart because I'm like, wait, these people don't expect me to be perfect.
mm,
We're talking about imperfect things. We're talking about things we're all trying to fix, within ourselves, and how can we make each other better, and how can we lift each other up, and how can we, stand together stronger. And it just, that continued to grow. And the more I don't want to say I like over relied on that network or that community of people, but I found that those were my people. Um, those were my friends. And I remember trying to explain that to so many of my colleagues and so many of my family who just said, "You spend way too much time on social media. You need to close your computer." And
right.
I'm like, "You don't understand." It's where I get filled, right? If I have to stand in front, if I have to go to a party in person with 50 other people, I shut down. There's no way I can speak, you know, and carry on a conversation with that many people. It drains me, completely drains me. Still does. But to get on a Zoom or to get on, a Twitter chat or to, get on a podcast and start talking and conversing and having those real conversations with real people that we all kind of have similarities and congruencies that make us connect, heartfelt. So that's when it started to go. I started to go, hey, it's all right. It's all right. Um, then we went on.
That mindset fascinates me because I know for a lot of people, social media becomes a trap. You mentioned this quest for perfection and always feeling like you're just falling short of perfection. And for a lot of people, I've heard that that's the trap of social media, is that they start to become, it's the FOMO of life. They feel like they're always missing out on what everybody else is doing, and everybody else is just slightly more successful than they are. They're all getting the opportunities that they wish they had, and they're going on all the vacations that we wish we were going on, and talking to the people we wish we were talking to. But what I'm hearing from you is social media for you was your safe place. It was the place where you felt connected, where you found people that were identifying with you and your struggles, your successes, truly becoming your friends, which I can relate to in a very, very real way. In a very real way. For me, it doesn't matter where I live around the world because my friendships are going to stay the same because I talk to people online and on the phone all day long. Similar to you, in person, not so much. In person, I feel like I give people the stiff arm, perhaps because
Mhm.
of this feeling of insecurity of I'm not perfect. If they get too close, they're probably not going to like what they see. But through a computer screen, I can kind of craft the narrative. Do you relate to that?
I do, and I remember the first time I even met somebody. It was just this summer. So Darren Peppard and I met when
Yeah.
he came down on vacation with his family, and I remember the drive down was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I was with my husband, and he's like, "Now, who are we going to see?" I'm like, my publisher, my friend, my like,
Yeah.
my confidant. And he's like, oh, okay, all right. And I got there and I remember sitting in the car for like 2 seconds, just going, wait. What am I doing? What if he doesn't like me? What if his wife thinks I'm a weirdo? What if his,
Yeah.
what am I doing? It was that whole, I call it the meteor shower of what ifs. It's
Oh,
like all coming at me at one time, and that anxiety, and that it was the total. But I sat there, and then all of a sudden I see him standing at the door of the little cottage they were renting on the beach, and he was like, hey, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. And I swear, Dave, it was like we had known each other for years.
yeah.
He and the two couples and his daughter, can't remember her name. But we sat out on the beach, we had a few drinks, we watched the sunset, and we just talked, and it was like, okay, this is real. This is not in my head, make believe, this is real. And I wasn't nervous. I wasn't like, it was just such an overwhelmingly amazing feeling.
But Jillian, you're gonna have to reconcile something with me. I relate to it, but there are others that might not. You said you're an educator. You spend all day, every day surrounded by people. You are in front of kids all day long who are sometimes the most brutally honest crowd there is. They will tell you when a hair is out of place. They will tell you when there's a wrinkle on your clothes, and yet you crave it. You thrive in it. You're successful in it. You love your job. So why is it difficult then to have those same interactions with adults, with the biggest of the kids?
And it's still more difficult to talk to, right? To talk to parents than it is to talk to students. But I really feel like education is, and for me, I mean, I was late coming into the career path of education. I had been in ophthalmology for 10 years and loved it. I mean, and so I was always talking to people there too. I mean, I was ophthalmic technician, so I saw people, but you're in that little contained environment. So, and when I stepped into the role of an educator, I remember this is my environment. I can make it whatever I want to make it. And I just remember being just so excited that I could sit here in this little classroom all day long with the same group of kids and be completely happy because we're like one little family. But get me in front of an open house night where all the parents are standing there looking at you. That scares me to death. That gives me the meteor shower.
So does this kind of stuff still scare you? I mean, you're now blogging and writing and speaking and doing all of the things now. I mean, are you doing this almost therapeutically for yourself just so you can get over it? Or has it become a new love that you never knew you had?
It's become a new love that I never knew I had. Like I already am thinking about, all right, I cannot wait to record some videos for my kids and for my parents and to tell them who I am and what I do and to include them in our school year together. I mean, we go back in like middle of August and I'm already just like I'm so excited. So I think that almost that stress and that unrealistic expectation of I can't speak in front of people and it's uncomfortable has really become kind of okay. And it's become like that next step for me. So, yeah, no, I've really grown to enjoy it and I've grown to love it.
So you mentioned next steps. So I gotta ask, because you don't strike me as somebody that's content, that you figured it out now. You found your happy place. You strike me as who is now saying, I have found the next step towards the happy place. So what is the happy place?
Hmm. I think it's, a lot of it is understanding who I am and understanding what passions and what things are still fueling my life. So I like to say this is like my second act of life because I'm kind of in that second half of life, right? So what do I want that second act to look like? First act is done, curtain is closed. So what is it going to look like? And I think even now I'm like, I honestly believe I'm not going to retire an educator. I won't. I feel that, yeah, I think maybe a couple more years, but I would love to um, help coach other teachers and educators and leaders. And even, I don't know, tell them my experience and what I've been through the past 20 years and how to help them and how to create a positive culture within your classroom and just all of those important things, all of those things that make a difference in education that sometimes get overlooked. I know I overlooked them as an educator my first 10 years. I didn't pay much attention to social emotional learning and empathy and inclusion. And it was, those were rough years. But the past 10 years, I would say have been golden because I learned so much from my students, from myself, being able just to open up and to realize I can't let anyone steal that uniqueness and that the special qualities about them, about myself, about anything else. So to be able to share that with other people is really important to me. We all have a different path. We all have, whether or not I'm going to be writing more books or illustrating or publishing or, who knows? Like, I don't really have a plan mapped out, but I know that there is a new path coming.
How can you not have a plan, Jillian? Come on. I mean, everybody's got a plan. You're just winging it.
Well, I mean, it's not like winging it,
Well, it is
but like
winging it, but that's
I'm,
okay. Just
but
be
I'm
real.
never gonna, I'm never gonna like, I don't know. So it was something, I think it was, I can't remember who said it yesterday. Mastery, right, is progress with understanding. And I think, okay, so I haven't achieved that mastery yet. Like, I don't feel like a master of anything. So, and I know that's in a different context of learning, but I'm understanding that there is more to me and there is more of a message and there's more in my heart that I want to share with the world. So I don't even know what scale. I mean, I'd love for it to be on a bigger scale. I'd love to speak and to present and to travel and to, you know, I don't know, just use my voice and to make a difference in the world. So,
Okay, so let's take these two worlds that you've got now. The day job right now is surrounded by kids and imparting a destiny changing message to kids about accepting and knowing who they are and pushing their identity forward. You wrote a picture book as well and illustrated a picture book primarily for kids, although it spoke to this 43-year-old kid right here in a very real way. And your message that you're also crafting at the same time is for adults to really the same message that you want people to find their value, find their truth, find their identity, and move forward with purpose and acceptance and in all aspects of life. Where you are right now in your world as an individual, thinking through the journey that you've been on, what is the next thing that you need? What is the message that you need somebody to speak into you? Because I feel like life over the last year has spoken this powerful message to you that you are good enough, that you do have a voice, that you do matter. And maybe that message came 40 plus years late, or maybe it came right on time. I'm not quite sure. But what is the next thing that you need? Do you know what you need to hear? Do you know the support that you need, what you need to be surrounded with?
I think just keep finding those people that I'm connecting with that, I am not, I've always been a positive person. I've never been, an Eeyore or Chicken Little. It's like I've always been, I don't want to say Pollyanna, but I've always had that positive, optimistic outlook, no matter how bad things get. I mean, we've we've all been through the ish, right? We've all been through so much stuff. I mean, even, we don't know what everybody's got a story. And mine happens to be, I mean, child of divorce, infertility, adoption struggles, losing my dad, losing my mom, losing my sister, losing, um, kind of my identity with all of that loss and all of that grief. And, I think all of those things are still building blocks where people sometimes think those tear you down. I wouldn't be who I am today had I not been through a lot of those struggles and a lot of that grief. And yes, I mean, struggling with other things like anxiety and with depression and with some other things that come along with that, but at the same time knowing that it's okay, that day by day, I know that I am going to make it, and I know that I have things to look forward to. And I need people to, I guess what I need from others is just to keep affirming that, not that I'm perfect, not that I'm doing great things, but that I'm being heard. Um, I guess that's kind of the big thing, that I hear you and I see you.
Well, that is happening in a very real way right now because I'm hearing you and I'm seeing you, and I am so inspired by you. So much so, I feel the need right now to circle back and ask you the very first question I asked you today. When I asked you to introduce yourself to the world, and at the time you said, I'm Jillian, I'm an educator, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and you listed a bunch of other labels to identify yourself. Thinking through what we've been talking through for the last half hour, 40 minutes, if I said, Jillian, who are you? Who are you?
Wow. That's a hard question to answer. I I guess I would say I just, nobody's really asked me that before. You know, when you're asked to introduce yourself, you do. You put those labels
Yeah.
on yourself and you think about, I think, if I had to describe myself, I would just say that I am just one person on this planet, just trying to spread as much joy and encouragement to other people as I possibly can. Somebody asked me one time, if you had a billboard and you could put anything on that billboard, what would you put on that billboard? And I said, be the joy. Be the joy. And it's not a happiness, it's not a fakeness, it's not a, a fleeting thing. It's a deeply rooted character trait that you have to go through a lot of stuff to dig around for. And
Mm.
it's a discipline. You have to cultivate it. You have to grow it. You have to water it. You have to um, do a lot of things to make it work. And it was funny. You had made, okay, so there was a comment. Um, I can't remember what, I think it was in June one time, and you had said something about an unpopular opinion. I am enough it was a statement that we hear all the time, right?
Mhm.
And you had talked about battling that kind of like opinion of, yeah, we always say that. It's such a common phrase. And I was the only person that commented on that phrase.
Yeah.
On that tweet. I remember that because I would go back to see, well, why isn't anybody else answering him?
Yeah.
Doggone it. And it has stuck with me for the past month. And I thought, well, what I had responded back to you was, I am not enough. But what I like to tell people is, you are enough,
Mm.
right? You are enough. So, and that's coming from, because we all need to collaborate together. We all need to have that community of people that surround us, that make us feel like we are enough. And no, we're never going to be enough, but you are enough.
Mm. It's, I wish I had known you 4 or 5 years ago. Um, 4 or 5 years ago, I was going through therapy for the first time, and I was asked that question that I just asked you. And I remember when I was asked that question, and it was followed up with, and are you enough? Floodgates opened up. Floodgates. I mean, I was a mess because, like you said, that's a hard question. I've never been asked before. Oftentimes when we do introduce ourselves, we introduce ourselves with all the labels that other people associate with us. And our labels tend to be all the ways that we help support and serve other people, as opposed to who we are for ourselves. And understanding our identity, our values, our passions, our interests, all those things, that when all of the veils and all the facades are ripped off, is our core identity. And I have struggled with trying to answer that question still to this day. Who am I? What is the thing that drives me? Not the applause, not the praise, not the affirmations, the stickers and high fives. Like, who am I? And that tweet that you mentioned, sometimes saying I am enough for me is a cop out for me, because it makes me feel like, that statement that some people make where they say, this is who I am, take it or leave it. No, that's not a good enough response. Who you are is who you are today, but it better be getting better tomorrow. You better be growing, you better be changing, you better be improving. Simply embracing that who I am right now is all I'm ever going to be, for me, is not what I ever want to be. I'm okay I saying this is where I'm at
Mhm.
in this moment, but I want to keep getting better. And what I'm hearing from you is you relate with that same sentiment, that who you are today is a completely different version of who you were 16 months ago, who you were 5 years ago. At your core, you've got the same values, but who you are, your interests, your passions, your desires, they've changed. And that is okay. It is okay to
Yeah.
change who you are. And maybe that's
Yeah.
why it's difficult even to identify and acknowledge this is where I'm going to be in 5 years or 10 years, because you don't know. You come to this awareness that you changed so much that you could have never anticipated. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? And that does not mean that you are a broken seashell. You're whole as
No.
you are.
No.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's
whew.
interesting because yeah, that's deep. We were going deep. We took a deep dive. And but it is all about evolving. It's all about transforming. And I think this was, and I tell people, my mom and my husband, he's like, you're a different person. Both of them have said, you are not the same person you were a year ago. And
Mm,
I'm like, I don't feel like I'm the same person. I feel um, more at ease with myself. I feel more affirmed. And I don't want to say that in an egotistical way, but it's like, I just, it's not because I'm controlling more things, it's because I'm letting go of that control, I think. And I'm finding the more that I release, um, the better I feel. The less I have to worry about, the less I have to process. I think you threw something else out there this week about, letting go of the things you can't control because, yeah, we're only worried about those things that, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? Well, what's going to happen? Just like with a hurricane that was coming last week, it's
mhm.
like, oh my gosh, well, what if that meteor shower starts, right? And it's like, I,
Yeah,
my husband and I both went, we're, we're fine. We're prepared. We've got everything we need. And I'm like, yeah, we are
yeah.
prepared. We're good.
Worry only happens when you feel like you should be in control. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you come to that awareness that there are some things you can't control, then there's no reason to worry. That's all it is. It's a quest for control. I love that reminder. I love that.
Yeah.
So although you can't control where your life is going, although you can't control the circumstances they're in, I guess one final question before we get to that mic drop that I know that you are eagerly anticipating. Um, Maybe this question's even harder. You can't control where things have been. You can't control what has happened to you. Very hard question, maybe, or maybe a simple question. Are you happy with who you are right now?
I'm so happy with who I am right now and where I am right now. Like, I don't think I've ever been happier.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I've never, so yeah, second act of life is full on because I've never been happier, never been more excited to see what things are coming up down the path. Um, I don't feel stifled. I don't feel down on myself. I don't feel, you know, too often we assess situations and things that come into our life thinking based on like what was done, you know, what did I get done, but not why it was done or how it was done. And when you can kind of go back and it's not so much what was done, but how did I get here? Why did I get here? It blows my mind because I know there's purpose. I know there was a plan. It wasn't mine. I had the faith and the trust to just believe that there was something stronger in me that was gonna, get me through difficult times. And yeah, and here I am. I hope this feeling never goes away. Um,
It's
yeah.
powerful. That is powerful. That's powerful.
Not that I don't have bad days. Nothing is perfect. I am not chasing perfect. I have some really rough days, and I'll be honest. I mean, I do, have to meditate. I do have to pray. I do have to take medication. I do have to, exercise and take care of my body and do those things for me that help me stay strong. Um, but at least that's what I have a plan for. So that's my plan. When you asked about a plan, I
Yeah,
may not have like a 5-year plan, but I have a day-to-day plan.
that's good. And that day-to-day plan will take you forward one day at a time to a place where you'll be looking back saying, how did I get here? But I'm so glad I'm here, just like you're experiencing right now. That's good. And Jillian, where I see you going soon is I see you standing on the biggest stage imaginable. Filled the audience will be filled with kids, adults, people that are just there to hear your words and hear your story, to feel affirmed and uplifted, and to remember that they are enough, that they are not, they may be broken, but they're still priceless, they are still precious, they are still valuable. And as they listen to you share your story and share your message, mic in hand, before you walk off the stage and drop that mic and let it rattle, what words would you impart to the world? What do you want them to remember from your story and your message before you leave them?
I would say that we all have a superpower, and your superpower is your choice. My superpower has become respondability. So, my ability to choose response over reaction has changed my life.
Mm,
Um, so, find your superpower and find that thing that will turn your life into something special.
I love that in so many ways, and I feel like I want to talk to you now for another hour and a half. Just that concept of respondability, not responsibility, respondability. I feel like that is a lesson that we all need to take and gravitate towards and meditate on and figure out how that simple word applies to every aspect of our lives, because how you respond to things impacts the outcome of those things. So
Yeah.
Jillian, I appreciate you probably more than you will ever know. You are a game changer. You are an inspiration. You are absolutely incredible. I know that there are people listening right now that say, I need to follow this woman. I need to track her journey. How can people become a part of your world? How do they stay in contact with you?
Well, I do have a little website, and it is impartedjoy.com. And on that website is a little bit of everything: blog, podcast, about me, a little portfolio of things that I've done. I am also on Twitter all the time at Jill DuBois 22. So those are the two best places to find me and track me down.
Awesome. And all of those things are listed in the show notes for those of you that are overachievers and actually read those things. You can grab them and follow along in the journey. Jillian, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy life doing all the things and doing them all almost perfectly. I appreciate you, and I'm just so grateful for the last 45 minutes.
Oh, thanks, Dave.